course, this is the time Zoom picks to do an update for me.
If it was easy, everyone would do it.
All right. All right, everybody. You are live on YouTube.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Call a Franklin Township Planning Commission meeting of December 4th, 2025. Call it to order. Before we get to the first item of business, public comment, just to remind everybody that that's not familiar with how we proceed. The Planning Commission and is addressed first and has the opportunity to ask all the questions. We then usually open it up to the representative of the plan that's being discussed. And then we open it up for any public comment or question. If you are a member of the public, you'll need to state your name and if you're a resident of the township. First order of business, any public comment about items not on the agenda? Moving on, we'll look to review and approve the meeting minutes. I think it's October 12th or October 2nd, 2025.
Yes, that's correct. And Stacy did a wonderful job of putting those minutes together. I looked at them. I don't think I had much to say, and I sent them forward. So if there's no comments, we can move forward with the approval of that.
I think Stacy made the one correction that I asked you earlier.
Right.
Yes, after we spoke, they're
Yep.
corrected.
Great. So everybody had a chance to review. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve if you want.
I'll second it. I think Dr. Harris seconded.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Moving forward, next order of business is 449 Chesterville Road. Nate, did you have anything before we ask the representative of the property owner to review your letter?
Yeah, no, real briefly, guys. Andy Evervine is here on behalf of the applicant. He's the engineer for this project. I can share my screen, Jeff, if you want to give permission, Andy, and I can pull up the latest plan. Pretty straightforward. I'll let, since Andy's here, I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll let him do his spiel, and then I'm here to help answer questions as necessary. But frankly, very straightforward. Not much to this one, so this one I think we can hopefully move through pretty quickly.
You have permission, Nate, so you can start.
Right. And I think I've got it up. Let me know. Is that working good?
Blank screen.
Give it a second. All right.
There we go.
There we go. All right,
Can
Andy,
you-
I'll turn it over to you then.
Can you make that bigger, Nate?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think that's as big as I got.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe you need a bigger monitor too. You need a better computer too over there, Jeff. I don't know.
It's possible. I got a 23-inch monitor, but
I got my new 30-inch one here. It's pretty nice.
How are you doing on your iPad, Mark?
I'm doing well. In that, my ancient Dell, we're doing well.
All right. Go ahead,
So-
Nate.
Yeah, Andy, do you just want to go ahead and just kind of explain the what's and whys and what we're doing here? Andy?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nate, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Hi, Andy Everwine. Bear with me, I have a little bit of a head cold going on, so my voice will be a little froggy. So, Ms. Campanelli and Mr. Thompson have a property that's a little over 22 acres on Chesterville Road. They want to create two lots. One lot, which will house the existing, or contain the existing, will be 2.225 acres. The other lot, which will contain and house the existing horse riding training facility, and the fields, which will contain 20.030 acres. So basically, from the standpoint of looking at this property from Chesterville Road, you'll never know that anything's changing. It's more or less a subdivision just to subdivide off the house property, keep the horse facility property as is. There'll be no development, no building, no anything on any of these lots. Lot 1 has an existing septic. We did test it for an alternate system and it passed. On Lot 2, we'll be asking for a non-building waiver, which is permitted within the confines of the DEP when you're not doing any kind of development, and it's a facility basically that's going to maintain its status as it is. No one's looking to build a home over there or anything else. And if they did, they'd have to come back to the township for approvals to do that and then do planning for sewage. So it's a pretty straightforward subdivision, more or less what I call financial. Split up, it's not physically changing anything out there. And in a nutshell, that's what we got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, Before we go, I think the next thing, Nate, would be to go through your review letter, but before that, does the planning commission have any general questions about the plan?
I assume that if there's gonna be any sort of toilet needs, that they'll be done with porta potties, because you've got a facility there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have the same question. On the horse,
Yeah, we can get a porta potty. I
well,
mean, unless do I have to get a permit for a porta potty?
There aren't any there now. I mean, we're
No.
not asking to change anything that's functioning on that property now.
well, yeah, so my question is what happens? We don't want porta potties.
What a porta potty is.
So
I
I
know I
think
could go to the house and go to the bathroom, but yeah, I guess that's a good point.
yeah, my concern is that the house is no
Um,
longer part of the property. And I mean, why is this exempt from? I mean, it appears to be a business, maybe?
Well, right now it's a hobby farm. I had to stop my business because of the last subdivision debacle with my neighbors. That was a big lawsuit. Not that you all need to know about that, but so this is just subdividing the property. If I do decide to do something in the future, I could submit, that. But I mean, where would I perk it, and where would I put the toilet on a perk test for no house? I don't understand. I mean, I could get a porta pot if you think that I would need one.
Is the use isn't changing though, so it's still gonna be a hobby. And if there aren't facilities there now, where do people go to the bathroom now, Ms. Campanelli? They use your house?
The house. Yeah.
So, but you use the house because it's your house.
Yeah, but I don't have any people here. These are my horses right now.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get out in the open, and that's proposed to remain. If anything like that would change, I would think that she would have to go through the process of percolating the property and putting a bath facility in, or getting a permit or some kind of approval to put a porta potty. But there's no plan to do that at this time.
Is it the same ownership,
Yes.
both properties?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, what if this property sells and it doesn't have septic? I mean, does that meet our ordinances, guys?
I think, and Andy, I don't want to step on your toes, but my understanding of talking to Stan is this is not an existing, essentially it's not an existing dwelling unit now. So any conversion to a dwelling unit, any transition to a commercial operation would kick back in DEP planning modules and septic planning and all that.
Right.
So that's not happening as of now. If that were to happen in the future, that would be required.
I'm also curious, is there any facility for plumbing, or, forget the septic part of it, is there any facility for water supply or anything
Yeah.
for a well
Yeah.
that's?
I'm sorry, but I locked up. I don't know. I couldn't hear anything.
Yes, the well to the house does supply the barn and the outfields, the fields outside. As soon as this gets approved, I have a well permit. sitting on my table to have an agricultural well put in for this. So, but I didn't want to do anything until I knew that this was going to go.
Okay, no, I just was wondering if if just thinking forward, if it did convert into something that needed that, whether the infrastructure was already there or not.
Yes, it does. And I've already spoken to Chester County agricultural people about that. And that's a pretty straightforward thing to do, the agricultural well for the barn and the fields to shut off the water coming from the house.
Okay.
It's just a shut off valve.
Nate, should we have that on the drawing, the location?
You would have to find water first.
Yeah, typically what happens is the well is going to be permitted by the county separately. So that permit is issued by Chester County. Typically, generically, yes, Chuck, like you show a circle on a plan somewhere. The reality of it is it's dictated by site conditions, the county, the well driller, et cetera, meeting their provisions. When you've got a 20+ acre tract, if this was a 1 acre tract, that'd be a different scenario. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. I'm just asking the question, making sure that it's just a little bit odd that we now have a piece of property with a building on it. I know it's not a dwelling, but with a building on it, and there's no water or sewer as part of this division. And normally I don't think we would do that, but I'm just double checking.
Chuck, I think that the difference here is, at least in my mind, how I separate that is we're talking a non-dwelling unit situation, right? If this is a dwelling unit or a commercial business unit, that's a whole different ballgame with DEP and the county. Since that's not here, in talking to Stan and AECom, we're over in this bucket, which is what's called a non-building waiver, which they're allowed to get. Same thing with the well situation, that's a county permit. So again, the only way I can explain it is that, and that if Paula here, if she was going to, in the future, create a dwelling unit, create a commercial business, all of those various things, would snowball and become applicable. It wouldn't require necessarily land development again, but it would require at least those permits prior to building permits being issued, things like that.
Yes, and there is a certification that needs to get placed on the drawing that basically states that. So the recorded drawing will state that there's nothing property relative to sewage or sewage use without getting approval from the DEP in the township. It was in the package I sent to the town, and it gets submitted with the non-building waiver. So that will be recorded with the drawings, and you guys then have it, in perpetuity that way. So there's an enforcement opportunity if it has to be.
Okay, I'm happy.
Good questions, guys.
So, Nate, do you want to go through your letter?
Yeah, so there's really I think there's the two correspondence I have in front of me right now is I've got the comments from Stan, essentially, again, just clarifying the sewage requirements, the well aspect. So again, Stan's always got that covered, guys. He does a really nice job. He knows those rules and regs real good. We always work together on that. So, clarifying that and addressing these conditions. My letter, guys, again, I note the waivers. Waivers are going to be sidewalk. Again, we're not talking land development, anything like that. I think it's belts and suspenders requesting a waiver, along with doing this as like a joint preliminary final plan. So that waiver would be there as well. The notes, there's one impervious calculation note where she does have to remove a shed, relocate a shed to make sure she stays under the impervious coverage number. That's noted on the plan. I believe she's working towards that already. So that's pretty straightforward. I appreciate that. That just makes it easy. We don't have to go to zoning if that's going to be a condition of approval.
Nate, hold on one sec.
Yep, sorry.
You went past sidewalks. I think there's a perfect property to show where a future path would be along Chesterville Road.
What? Do you know how
Right there.
fast people drive down Westerville Road?
Right there, right here along the property line,
Where?
right where the setback is.
You want to put a sidewalk there?
No, we don't
No,
want you to put a sidewalk. We want the
Oh, I
drawing.
was putting one, but I was going to say, do you want to put one there?
We want the drawing to reflect that that there is a location for a path in the future, or that there's a path there. We want the drawing to reflect that.
Well, why wouldn't you put it at the back of the property?
Because it really wouldn't have accessibility from anywhere.
I mean, if you wanted to
Hey,
run
walk
it
it
around
down
your
the
property,
road.
that's a whole different conversation, but at the very least,
Well, here,
Where
let
are they
me,
walking from? I don't understand. Where is the sidewalk connecting to? Who is it connecting
so
to?
Paul, let me jump in the middle of this. Let me slightly mediate if I can. I think I know where Chuck's getting to is that I think what Chuck's saying is from a planning perspective, trying to get some sort of maybe easement that if a trail or other connectivity was happening in the future, the municipality might have the flexibility in the future, if anything were ever to happen, to continue along this area of
So you
Chesterville.
mean,
Is that what you're getting at, Chuck?
open space, basically for open space utilization?
yes. And it's in the right of way.
No, well, do you want it in the right of way, or you want it where the setback is, where that yellow line is on the property?
That's on the property, in the pasture.
I think
do
we
that.
should do it right along. We should have 5 feet right along the setback line.
In front of the setback line? Well, how
Yes.
about next to the fence?
Well, the fence is over the setback.
Well, it is, yes.
Yeah. I would show it right. I would show it right. I wouldn't show it in front of the fence.
Do we
You're
have to
saying-
show
Am I
it?
wrong in thinking the fence shouldn't be isn't that the whole point of a right of way?
No, the right of way is for them to be able to build a road in the future. The fence is there as an existing entity and can stay as such because PennDOT isn't going to come in there and tell her to take it down unless they come and widen that road. If they come and widen Chesterville Road, they have the ability to do whatever they want within that area. They're not in the business usually to do that, but they can.
Yeah,
So
and right
you
away.
do not have to remove it if at some future time they widen the road and it becomes a 4-lane highway. Yeah, they would remove that fence, but it would just be a couple feet inside, but not until that such time. And I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Right.
So Chuck, wait, I just want to pin this down then. So is your suggestion that, because I mean, right now, I guess I'm just going to interpret this real quick, right? So right now, the edge of the road is here. You know, you've got a fence here, and then the property line here. So you've got, and I can't say I drive this road every day, guys, so I don't want to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, right? But you've got, 30-ish feet of legal right of way for future trail or path construction in this area that exists. So Chuck, are you suggesting that we would need maybe some additional on private property to be safe, or now that I explained it, does that make sense?
Chuck, before you answer that, Jeff, if you maybe could enlighten everybody on PennDOT's position of how their right of way is used and whether they would want a path in their right of way. I think we've run into this issue like in the village when we've talked about, improving pedestrian movement throughout the village. And that's why I think Chuck's getting to the point. Yeah, maybe somebody would put a path in that right away, but if PennDOT does utilize that right away, we still want to be able to put a path just over that right away for 5 feet into the property.
So PennDOT is going to, if it ever comes to fruition, PennDOT will always have the ability to trump the township because it is a state road. Always.
So does that mean we're concerned that if it's in the right of way, that it potentially could be lost in the future?
It
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to look at the size of the right of way along that road. A 40-foot legal right of way along Chesterville Road is enormous. Most PennDOT right of ways are 16.5 feet from center line. They don't normally have such large right of ways. So even if they widen this road another 12, 15 feet, you'll still have room for a sidewalk, but you don't need to have an easement or have it shown because it's in a right of way. it's already part of a right of way. It's already within the township's ability to build that if they ever wanted to do it in the future without an easement.
We still want it.
So Andy, the short version is, would you guys be willing to consider a 10-foot offset easement off the right of way for future ability to construct a trail or sidewalk, something along those lines? I think is what the planning commission is getting at. In lieu of a waiver for installing it.
Right, you'd have to ask my client.
Well, let me ask the other planning commissioners if we're in line with Chuck. Excuse me, Paula, Ms. Campanelli, if the other planning commissioners could comment on this concept.
I mean, it's my impression that if we're just talking about the need for it to be on the plan itself, I don't particularly see the harm. The question of the existing 40-foot setback seems like it would include enough space for that. That's just my impression.
I don't know if we need to show it on the right. I don't know if we need to show it because that kind of defines an area which may or may not work in the future. I think we just have a statement on there that's saying within the right of way, there could be a pathway which is available to the township to use, and it may be 5 or 6 feet or whatever we're going to say as part of that right of way space, but not necessarily show it and then create a problem in case we want to move it in the future.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean show it as in like necessarily on the plan, just show it somewhere in the documentation.
Yeah, it could just be it just could be a statement that's saying that, the township has the ability in the future to use 5 or 7 feet or where we want number is as a pathway in case a future pathway is going to be put through this area. But there's no requirement to do anything right now other than make a statement in the text on the document.
I think that's a more reasonable approach in my opinion, but I leave that up to y'all to decide.
For what my 2 cents is worth, I think we got a lot of right of way there. I know famous last words. I can't imagine PennDOT ever coming in and using the entire 40-foot right of way in our lifetimes, but I think maybe we could just get away with a note on the plan saying that one could be placed within the right of way. I don't think we need, I'm not saying anyone is suggesting this, but I don't see the need for Mrs. Campanelli to move her fence.
I agree with you.
And we're confident that a township can do improvements within a PennDOT right away.
Again, Dave, I'm not going to kid you. It's going to be it would be a challenge.
You're going to need a permit and you're going to have to approach PennDOT, Dave. It's not, it's not as simple as that, but it would be a project. But yes, it's feasible.
And I think we should show it on beyond the right of way.
Meaning guarantee that it's possible.
Yes. Otherwise, otherwise we're never going to get there.
I mean, you are correct. PennDOT may say absolutely not. We want our right of way, and you're never going to have 1 inch of it.
I don't think PennDOT's going to say that. Nate, you can jump in at the time. PennDOT doesn't make it easy to do anything, but they would. You as a township could initiate a sidewalk plan within this area, within the right of way, and PennDOT would review it and they would approve it under the guise of the Pennsylvania laws. And they couldn't deny it based upon just willy-nilly. They have to allow it. It's just a process of the Pennsylvania law.
Yeah, guys, I think Danny's sort of right there. I mean, it's and Jeff kind of said it probably even best. Like having 40 feet of right of way from the center line here is a ridiculous amount of right of way for this type of road. I'm not saying it's feasible, constructible. I know nobody's graded it out, but yeah, I think it would be a pain because PennDOT's just not easy to work with, right? I also don't think we're putting in sidewalk tomorrow. PennDOT's not going to come back and say, well, that's our right of way. You can't put it in this location. They're going to say you need a permit, you need a design. those types of things, Chuck. But they're not going to say, no, you can't do it. If it's part of a trail plan or a sidewalk plan, PennDOT's not going to deny it in this location just because it's in the right of way. If you were to put it outside of the right of way on private property, you would not need any PennDOT permissions per se, right? But again, that's a whole different path.
I know we all sit here and say 40 seems unreasonable, but didn't the county say it should be 80? So, I mean, that's how ridiculous sometimes you can be when you go outside of local jurisdiction.
I want a clarification on that. I think the county was saying it is 80. I think they were
Yeah,
saying
it's 40
there's a
on both
problem.
sides.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they were
They
were
misquoted that,
confused.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that isn't an 80.
40 that's shown on the plan is shown to the center line of the road. So it's 40 on both sides, in theory.
So an 80-foot right of way for the road would mean 40 on both sides of the center line. Nate's correct.
Yeah.
In this instance, this existing legal right of way is 40 foot from the center line. So it's complying with that requirement. Across the street, I don't know. I don't know the plans were ever submitted. My suspicion is it's 16.5 feet from center line as it exists today. I would think that, that's just the way it is.
To keep this discussion moving and trying to move forward, is there a way to say that the township would do its best efforts to be within the right of way, but if not, it would be just inside the right of way, just outside the right of way? Is there
As a
way to
note on the
document
plan?
it that way?
Yeah, I don't see that as an issue. I think, Miss Campanelli, you'd have to say yes to it, but I don't think that's an issue because it's not going to affect your property. It's not going to affect anything. You're not taking land. You're not losing area. It's just that if some point 20 years from now, the township decides to put a trail system in, they can do it.
No, I don't have a problem with it as long as I don't have to move my fence line and,
Yeah, I don't think it would involve moving at all.
and this said sidewalk is going to go up through Nicole Nunn's property and all the other properties all the way to the intersection of Chesterville and North Creek. Is that where this proposed sidewalk is going to go? So you're going to take 40. You're going to ask Nicole and all the neighbors going up the road to also have 40 feet from the center line to their property.
We're asking everybody that comes for a change to their property lines.
Okay, but even if you do have this said sidewalk, where's it going to connect to?
Well, that's the whole thing. We have to start making them so we can connect them together.
Right, so you're going to have to require everyone to give up 40 feet of the front of their property, which a lot of these people don't even have that. I mean, I have a huge amount of property. A lot of these people don't have that.
We're not talking about any change right now. If it's already, the state has already taken the 40 feet.
Right, so this is a state issue here.
Well, I think it's an issue where the township's saying that they want to start planning for potential ability to put paths and walkways in their township. And this is an opportunity to note on the drawing so that in the future, if they can ever obtain the right of ways on the other sides of your property to put a cohesive sidewalk network in, that they would be able to do that.
Okay, so, and that applies to the other side of the road also?
As I'm understanding Mr. Phillips, it says anybody who comes in for a subdivision or land development, they're asking them to do the same. So I don't know that it's exclusive to you. It's just that you're in front of them right now.
No, yeah, that's
Correct.
fine. I'm just seeing what everybody else would have to also do. It's not just, where you're going to connect these sidewalks to it's just not registering to.
Right.
Probably right now, they wouldn't have to do anything. I'm sorry, Mr. Hoffman. I didn't mean to jump in on you.
No, I just said as an example, you can stay on the meeting for another hour and a half and see that we're going to have the same discussion on the next plan that's coming before us.
No, well, okay, as long as they have the right of way, they're good. I have the right of way, so I'm fine. So as long as I don't have to move my fence, you can make your notation without me having to have poor Mr. Eberworth there draw new plans with your
Right.
proposed sidewalk setback, all that. So if we can
No,
do
it's
it
just going to add a note to this one. It won't take long.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That sounds
So-
good.
Thank you.
I
Agree.
pasted in,
But I want to go back to what Chuck said. So do I need a permit to get a porta potty?
No.
Okay,
can I go back to that issue real briefly? I pasted in the chat on the Zoom, section of the code, section 22.723. It does actually call out that each dwelling and non-residential building on an individual lot or subdivision shall have an adequate supply of potable water for domestic use supplied, and that the system needs to be annotated on the plan.
I can show a well location. It may or may not be there, but I'll show a location called potential proposed well, and it's there. It's fine. It's just a circle on a drawing.
Right.
I mean, it's either that or ask for a waiver for the ordinance. I mean, it's
Well, I think at this point it'd be easier to show a circle on a drawing and ask for the waiver. It's not going to tie her down. It's going to say potential well. And if the well water's there, that's great. If not, she'll Miss Campanelli will find a place to drill it.
and then
Yeah. There's a lot of things to do.
the other issue that was brought up earlier talks about the requirement for an individual property to have some sort of septic or sewer. The code is a little ambiguous. Sections 22.722, section 1. It describes that each property shall be.
Zach, just to interject,
Yeah.
that's essentially what this non-building waiver declaration that DEP requires essentially covers that. What they're saying is this is what DEP will accept to allow that.
And Zach, this comes from Stan with his recommendation that we do sign it. So
Correct.
as Nate said, Stan's pretty,
No, I found
Strict
the
following
section
his
of the
things.
code that seemed relevant. I just wanted
Yeah.
to.
And I just learned how to use the chat. Awesome.
Oh
Thanks,
boy,
Zach.
now we're in trouble.
No, I appreciate what
Yeah.
you've done here, Zach.
to complete the discussion on the waiver, so we addressed the sidewalk. Thank you, everybody. Just so that we have it documented, that we're giving a waiver to preliminary plan, but this is a preliminary and final, and we don't have any issues with that. Is that correct? The rest of the commission?
Yes.
Good. Nate, do you know where you left off on your letter?
I was probably, as I tend to do, I was probably running through it somewhat quickly, so I apologize. Let me just flip back to it real quick. I think we got stopped, the well we talked about. There will be a shared driveway easement, so that's, typically something that gets handled as part of the record plan process, obviously. Number 6, we talked about sidewalks. 7 is survey pin and monuments. They showed that on the plan now. 8 was this classic right-of-way discussion. They clarified that actually is legal right-of-way, so we're good there. And then 9 and 10 just kind of tackle. I try to just cover all of our bases there just so nothing gets missed. So you can kind of see some of the language there on some of the other, third-party external type stuff. I don't believe there was anything of note in the Chester County planning letter. And like I said, AECom, Stan, I did confirm with him today that he is recommending the planning commission also approve signing the non-building waiver to get that to DEP.
Any questions from the planning commission?
No, not
Nope.
for me.
To keep things moving, if we don't have any questions, does anybody want to make a recommendation or make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors?
Sure, I'll do it. Make a motion that the planning commission conditionally approve the subdivision plan for the Campanelli Thompson property at 449 Chesterville Road, Landenberg, Pennsylvania, tax parcel 72 TAC 5 TAC 9, based on the most recent review letters submitted by Nate Klein of Pannoni Associates and Stan Corbett of AECom.
Zach, do you mind putting in there that we, with the waiver?
Oh, and that
Or,
the board
and-
recommends approval of the non-building waiver.
No, sorry, did you get the copy of my proposed amendment to Jeff's? The
I
two
thought I was
sections
looking at
of
it. Give me a
saldo
second.
that we need to,
I'm sorry.
Zach, do you mind withdrawing your recommendation right now? It just came to mind. Are we giving a waiver to the sidewalks as long as there's a note?
Oh, I found it. Sorry, I was looking at the earlier version of the motion. So yeah, I withdraw my motion.
Great. So the proposed motion was to include a waiver, obviously for the preliminary and final plan to be combined, and then that there would be no sidewalks. Now, there aren't any sidewalks. There's an easement for a potential future trail. Are we still comfortable giving a waiver? I'm recommending that we still give a waiver to the requirement of sidewalks, as long as we add in the conditional approval that a note is added for the trail.
I think we say in lieu of, yeah.
Okay,
You're still up, Zach.
Okay, starting over. Now I have the actual text. I make a motion that the planning commission conditionally approve the subdivision plan for the Campanelli Thompson property at 449 Chesterville Road, Landenberg, Pennsylvania. Tax parcel number 72, TAC 5, TAC 9, last reviewed 10th of November 2025 with the following two waivers. Waiver 1 to section 22401B2 requiring a preliminary plan submission, and to section 22710.1 requiring sidewalk installations at the discretion of the Board of Supervisors, and the outstanding items from the most recent review letter submitted by Nate Klein and Pinoni Associates and Stan Corbett of Ecom be resolved that all township escrow accounts will need to be settled before the plan can be recorded and released to the applicant. This is also with the understanding that the requirement for the sidewalks be mentioned in the plan, but not enforced in terms of building.
have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? Being no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
And
Thank you
then-
very much.
Dave,
Nate? Nate, just to finish up for 449, we need to also address the septic. Yes. Is that what you wanted to do, Jeff?
yes, sir. You
Okay.
read my mind, doctor.
So Stan recommends that we sign section D of this document. And we need a motion to do that. And then I would go sign it tomorrow at the township.
Okay, I'll do that one too. Make a motion to execute section D of the planning agency concurrence on PADP's request for a planning waiver and non-building declaration for 449 Chesterville Road, Landenberg, Pennsylvania, tax parcel 72, TAC 2, TAC 9.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great.
Hey guys, real quick, I just want to clarify, I highlighted that language there that I think is helpful for everybody, just again, to understand the reasoning where DEP comes from. And that's kind of what their guiding principle is here and why that's applicable in this case. So getting into the weeds a little bit there for you, but I just wanted to point that out while I had everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Hoffman and Ms. Campanelli, if you wouldn't mind, if you could come in Monday to sign that document, that would be great. The office is going to be closed tomorrow.
That's fine.
Is that okay, Dr. Hoffman?
Sure, Jeff, I gotta change my notes now for tomorrow morning.
Sorry.
All
I
right.
think we're done. Thank you, Ms. Campanelli and Andy.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, guys. and Have a great holiday.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Feel
you.
better.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to Woods Edge. Uh, who do we have speaking for the applicant?
It
Hi, this is-
is, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. This is Mike Joyce. I'm with Chester Valley Engineers. We're the site civil engineer for the project.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Maybe we just start with the general explanation of the site and the plan.
Sure. So, subject site, or Nate, I don't know if you had anything wanted to lead with, or if I should just get into it.
I have the plan up. I'll let you take the lead and I'm here to help as needed, but I'll let you take the lead for now.
Okay, great. Yeah, the parcel is a 44.8 acre tract in the northwest corner of the township. It's bordered by London Grove Township to the north and New London Township to the west. Access to the parcel currently comes from Blair Road from New London Township. Paved portion of Blair Road continues into the property where it turns north and transitions to a gravel driveway that's serving the parcel to the north in London Grove Township. This plan is in essence a recreation of a plan that was previously approved, as noted in Nate's letter. I think it was 2008, and essentially it's creating 22 single-family home lots and a cul-de-sac road and an additional, call it a loop road, that would begin within the property, but tie into the existing asphalt of Blair Road. Plans currently show Blair Road continuing up to essentially a dead end at the boundary to the north. We're proposing on-lot septic treatment, and in addition to the roads you see in terms of emergency access, we're also currently providing secondary access around the lots to the south, starting between 17 and 18, as Nate's highlighting. And this would be in the event that the cul-de-sac road is access to that is cut off during an emergency. And in terms of the existing site, such as the northern third, or 40% of the site is wooded. Southern half of the site is agricultural, and majority of the open space would be within that area to the south. And the plan seeks to preserve as much of the woodlands as possible, obviously in accordance with the township's environmental protection standards. And in terms of stormwater management, it will be a combination of on-lot, call it seepage beds, or on-lot, underground facilities draining to 3 separate surface basins within the open space areas. And beyond that, we have the review letters. I think the intent is provide a by right plan. So obviously, we having gone through the letters, I don't see any issues addressing comments from Nate. And as far as the comments from AECom, the applicant is using a separate consultant for the on-lot septic design. So we'll need to coordinate those updates as well. I guess beyond the Franklin Township comments, we understand that New London will want to have a formal application, since access to the site solely comes from Blair Road, and impact of traffic as a result of this development will need to be examined.
Before we get, thank you, Mike. Before we get Nate getting detailed review, any general comments from the Planning Commission? Or questions, I should say, at this point.
This is James Gilson. I'm just curious, what drove you to focus the subdivision plan in the wooded area and not shift it down where it's more open? to minimize the tree removals and everything.
That's a fair point. I would have to defer to the applicant, but in essence, the intent was to essentially resubmit a plan that had been approved. So that was really the initial thought that this layout was approved. So he thought he would, see if that could be approved again.
Mike, just for everybody's understanding, is the applicant the same applicant that was in 2008?
No.
Okay.
I don't know the date of transfer of ownership of the parcel, but no, he was not the owner at that time.
The applicant consider replanting some trees where the agricultural is right now, the open space, the open area in the southern part of that lot?
Yes, and I think Nate'll scroll to the landscape plan, and we have his comments regarding the proposed buffering, but there's extensive landscaping around the perimeter. So we would, I think, to Nate's comments, we would want to get away from this sort of regimented layout in certain areas and sort of provide a more staggered layout for the trees to, one, create a more natural feel to it and provide the year-round screening as needed.
I think
Yeah,
the
I think
other-
we'll have more on landscaping as we go through the letter. But I think the first thing, Nate, is your first comment, and I think it's fair for us to address that first comment. Is a plan like this, by all our requirements, should be a preliminary plan, not a joint preliminary final.
I certainly would suggest that a plan of this magnitude would only be considered, in the vein of preliminary nature. Mike, I assume your team would not have any objections to that. Obviously that, we got a ways to go in a bunch of different things. So I would anticipate any resubmission would be kind of termed a preliminary submission. Is that fair, Mike?
Yeah, agreed. That makes sense.
Okay. Go
Good,
ahead,
Dave.
Nate.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts, Dave? How do you want to go through things? I mean, do you kind of want to go through it all? Do you want me to try to hit the highlights? I'm happy to do whatever's easiest for the group. I know there's a lot of moving parts here.
There are a lot of moving parts, and it is kind of unique that we're working off of a plan that was once approved, and nothing needs to be assumed that it would be approved now. But it does give us a lot of details that could be worked on now, to give the applicant some guidance, instead of maybe just hitting keynotes and then still making them work on a lot of smaller stuff in preliminary. So unless anybody has an objection, I'd as much put planning commission effort tonight than extending it over 3 or 4.
I'm with you. We're here. I don't think there's no games on tonight, right? So let's just grind through this and kind of put it all out there.
No important ones, just that blue and gold team down in Big Texas.
All right. So I'm trying to think the easiest way. So I got my letter up. Can everybody see that?
We can see it. It is
Yeah.
small. I think even if you had a 36-inch screen.
I've got, I can,
Is that doing a little bit better?
That's great.
Okay. So yeah, so look, I'll go through a couple of things and we'll go through the letter, Mike, and then we'll kind of just bounce around. And I'll be honest, Mike, the easiest way to do this is maybe I'll just kind of bring it up and talk about it. But if it's something that you're like, hey, we'll comply, we'll address, just say as much and we can kind of keep it moving a little bit.
Sure.
It's kind of where
Sure.
my head goes, Mike. So
Yeah.
And then just for everybody's sake, because I don't know that everybody was necessarily there, but Jeff had a great idea, coordinated a site meeting a few weeks back, and we had a lot of good dialogue out there. So a lot of the stuff that was discussed out there, I believe, is also represented in here. So, not really changing gears or anything like that, but we did cover some of that there. So I think they're aware of some of these things before this letter even came out. So just so everybody's on that same page, I know a few of you guys were out there and we had some conversations.
so Nate, before you get
yes.
started talking real fast, Dave, do you want,
I apologize.
no, that's fine. Do do we want to jump in on the individual subjects that
I
Dave
think Chuck,
hits, or do you want to let them go all the way through and then we circle back?
I think we just let's tick through it. I think there's going to be a few of these that we're certainly going to want to talk longer on, and we can pause and talk longer on those and go bounce. But maybe to keep it organized, I think maybe let's just try to go through it, and I'll do my best to kind of keep it moving and just shout out and we'll pause and we'll go through something a little bit more detail.
Yeah,
All right.
Nate, what I'll do is you get at the point, Mike has an opportunity to say we're complying, and then hopefully the planning commission says, great, you're complying, let's move to the next one. But I will wait, you bring up the point, Mike makes his comments, and then I'll ask the commissioners to comment on that item. I think that would be best, right, Chuck? I mean, I can't keep track.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, we're rolling around too much.
Exactly. So I think, look, 1, 2, and 3 are very good examples of that, guys, right? So, and I do talk fast and I get all energized. So please just yell at me if I am going too fast. It's not the first time, will not be the last time. So don't hesitate. Number 1, Mike, I mean, that's just cleaning up some of the lot widths. I presume you can, when you make modifications, you'll take care of that, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Number 2, school buses. Jeff was kind enough to already reach out to the school district team, provide them the plan. We are waiting for feedback. Again, Mike, if the school district gives us certain feedback, I presume you'll be able to accommodate that?
Yes.
Okay. I do think that ties into a comment that we'll get into a little bit later, which is Blair Road and Blair Road improvements in New London Township. So I'm going to set that aside, leave it to the school district, which is we're waiting on feedback from the school district, anticipating that Mike and his team will be able to address their comments as they come in. And then as this project proceeds, we may need to noodle that slightly. How does the bus access it? Can it turn around? What's temporary phasing? But again, that's on my list of things to keep on, and I think we're all aware of that. I do think where we get into the nitty gritty pretty quick here is probably on number 3. I don't know that I need to go in through each one of these. We've already kind of generically touched on that. The county, I thought, wrote it up very well as well in their letter. And Mike, I think that the main takeaway is a little bit of pause by all parties saying, hey, why are we using the wooded area and not maybe the open area? Or is there a better layout to this site that could work? So as opposed to us going down 1,000 different paths here, Mike, I think the question the way I'm going to pose it to you is your team, are you guys reconsidering layout based on that feedback?
Not actively, but I think, you know, if coming out of this meeting, the temperature is that we, you know, collectively, I think it makes more sense to do that, then, you know, I'll go to my client and, you know, we'll have that discussion. So I would say it's not, the door's not closed, but we're not actively considering it. So
you don't have a sketch in front of you of an alternative layout or anything like that?
correct.
Okay, so I think I do want to pose this then as kind of a discussion item real quick, guys, is to take the temperature of the planning commission here of what you guys feel. I mean, is that something that planning commission feels strongly that they are in agreement about, that there is something to be said for that, or some sort of middle ground? Or I'd be curious people's thoughts on that.
Well,
I'll
speak up.
jump in.
Strong.
Go ahead, John.
All right. The cul-de-sac is pretty long, and we've got then a road coming off of the cul-de-sac in order to give access in case there's an accident blocking the cul-de-sac. Is there any way of increasing that loop so that the cul-de-sac is much shorter?
Good. You go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I want to interject. I want to keep it focused if I can. I apologize. I think the road and the access is a certain aspect of it. I think what I want to focus on is, you know, the wooded versus the meadow and how the site is utilizing. And I'm going to go back to the GIS map if everybody can see that. I want to focus on this part of it a little bit, the natural features of the site and the layout of the site being in the wooded area versus maybe the open area. Does that make sense? I kind of want to keep it in that lane for now.
I thought you were opening it up with your comment.
Yeah, so I am, but just I want to stay on this focus of this part of it, the natural resources and the best use of the land for the development, if that makes sense.
So I'll go first.
Go ahead, Chuck. One time I want to go first.
Hot. Yeah, sorry about that. I was gonna wait so consider me hot. Yes, we really should reconsider where the development goes and leaving the trees alone. Not happy with the all the trees that are being torn down.
I think that's straightforward from Chuck's perspective. Anybody else want to chime in?
I surprisingly remember this plan from 2008. And I'd like the balance, actually. I don't think every tree needs to be saved at the sacrifice of agricultural land. And so the only thing that disturbed me was what we are calling open space has two large retention basins, which will never be farmed. So now I'm like, well, maybe we should move out of the woods because there's probably not going to be any farming on that open space anyways.
Any other thoughts, opinions on this one? I mean, we can leave it there for now. I think.
Well, one of the, if I may, there's a lot of open space, but it's not well accessed via trails. And if that's also the point of, I believe, of the ordinance, a better integration of trails into the open space, I think would be both an asset for the neighborhood, frankly, and ultimately generate something that could be linked up to something else.
So, and again, I think I do have that somewhat covered later too. And I think that's something we want to do with all three municipalities, have that conversation. But I think what I'd like to do is Mike being able to walk away from this conversation with a little bit of clarity and direction of, is he going back to the well on this layout and shifting things south or trying to move some of these lots around? Is that the direction this planning commission is giving them, kind of based on Chuck's feedback initially? But I think Mike needs a little bit of direction on that to help him facilitate next steps. And look, if we don't have consensus or we don't know, that's fine too. I want to make sure I'm trying to cover my bases here.
I just want to point out that the trees are considered open space also. So it's not like just the field is open space. In the definitions of our code, open space includes forested areas. So it applies to both. It applies to everything.
Yep.
I had a bit of an esoteric question. The proposed emergency vehicle loop that runs between lots 17 and 18 and extends to the intersection of 12 and 13. Has anybody reached out to, I think he was at the meeting, so probably yes. But just to address the requirement for an emergency vehicle width, the width of the larger apparatus is 108 inches. So
Yeah.
the cartway would need to be at least that big, and it seems like it's right on the edge of the rightmost retention pond.
Yeah, Zach, I think
We're going to get to that.
yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's
Okay,
a big
jumping ahead.
item too. Yep. No, I appreciate it. But yeah, I've got a laundry list of these things, guys. It's all in my letter. So I don't know,
So if
Chuck, you want me to-
does any other planning commission or alternate have an opinion on the houses being in the woods, out of the woods? What percentage do we want to try to influence anything? Are we overall okay with the fact that some's in the woods, some's out? That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. I think it's anybody who hasn't had a chance to take a look at the section on the open space in our code, going at the woods like this is not what our open space ordinance says. It's the exact opposite. The ordinance tells us to stay away from mature trees, to stay away from wooded areas, to stay away from habitat, to stay away from all those things. And I think it's important that we stick to what our code says and enforce that. So if anybody hasn't had a chance to take a look at that, do we want to pull it up?
I'm just gonna pull up the county comment real quick, Chuck, if I can. So here's the county's comment more or less right here. If you look at number 3A, I believe I've got this wide enough for everybody. So again, I think they're kind of doubling down, kind of, I think Chuck's representing similar here in how this is laid out. And, is this the best way to lay this type of site out? Even though we are using the open space design, I think, again, if you go down to their comment, I think, in my opinion, the county does a nice job here, talking about some sort of compromise. Is there something about sliding some things around? Is there a better way to lay this out that could maybe help move the needle a little bit in that regard? So
I think I agree with Chuck. I remember this plan when it came in back in 2007, 2008. So yeah, like Dave, I'm familiar with it from that long ago. And I think it rubbed me the wrong way back then, and it still does now. And I think that moving the development, the houses out of the woods, for me, would be something that I would like to see.
Yeah, this is James Gilson, Commission alternate. I agree. I think we should try to minimize the tree disturbance. The agricultural land is already disturbed, and we can minimize that by shifting things south a little bit. I think we should try, for my 2 cents.
all right. Well, if anybody else wants to chime in, I'll take it too. I think, Mike, just based on the feedback here, the feedback from the county, the way the code is worded, I think the potential for you needing relief or exceptions from the code exists. So I do think there's something there about taking a closer look at this layout and seeing if there is a way to find a little bit better way to preserve some of these wooded areas. I think does make a lot of sense and checks a lot of boxes.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna come back to the trees again later, Nate.
Yes, I think so. Maybe. I don't have it
Well-
memorized, but if we don't, we can. You mean landscaping in general, or?
The new trees.
Yeah, I think we'll touch on that briefly. Yep.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to put a pin in that specific issue for now, guys, and then let's keep chipping away here then. So, number 4 is again just kind of setbacks for lots and houses from the track boundary. Mike, I presume this is something when you clean this up, you could make sure you address.
Yes.
And number 5, obviously an easy one, building height, just a clear note on the plan, so there's no confusion there.
Yep.
Number 6, regarding all access to open spaces, a minimum width of 25. Again, all that is those little offshoots. Instead of being 10
Right.
feet, 15 feet, they should be 25 feet wide. Again, if we're going to consider some revised layouts, not hypercritical, just be aware of that. Is that fair?
That's fair, but I guess to that point, when we get into access for the stormwater and
It could be
a
doubled
trail
up.
and a trail connection okay, if they could be doubled up, all right.
I think there's probably some flexibility there. Yep. 7, any open space was going to have just a deed restriction. You can't subdivide that further. I assume that's not an issue.
Right.
It gets a little tricky, Mike, and I think somebody else picked this up earlier. The stormwater basins in the open space and doing the math on that could be a little challenging. So I think you're going to need to sharpen your pencil on that one.
Yeah, we've started looking at that, and I think we'll be in touch offline in terms of where we're calculating to, I guess, in essence. So.
Nate, I have a question about number 8.
Number 8, yep.
Can you bring up the plane and bring up that northern basin, please,
Yes,
sir?
I can, of course. So there's.
Can you
just for
enlarge
everybody-
that? Yep.
Yep. I'm going to zoom in just slightly so I keep the whole thing. So just for everybody's sake, real quick, I'll just kind of pause here briefly. So in essence, right now, the concept, and I guess, Mike, it's fair to call this a preliminary concept, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, the preliminary concept consists of kind of 3 large basins. And then in addition, Mike, you've got multiple lots. If you see anything like this, multiple lots with on-lot stormwater. Am I highlighting the right area?
Yes.
Yes. Some of these lots also have on-lot stormwater. So just to give everybody a framework of where we're going with this. But then I'll go back to Jeff. You were saying?
That northern basin, and I have a hard time with depth perception and looking at things. That seems awful close to the property line there. How far is that off the property line?
Oh, Jeff, that is also a comment later in my letter.
Okay, I apologize.
I got you, brother. I got you. Come on.
Okay.
But yes, that was something I noted as well. We certainly do not want to be grading onto or near to these, property lines, obviously, and Mike, when we get there, but I think that goes without saying, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, let's see. But great, you guys all have such good questions. Let's see here. All right, that gets us to 9 and 10. I'm going to put together, those are somewhat generic, kind of just record plan agreement documentation. Mike, that the attorneys and everybody will figure out a little bit later date.
Right. Yep.
Okay. 11 is kind of doubling down on the previous discussion regarding woodland disturbance. Again, I think Chuck referenced, various code sections. This is another one that, really buttresses the argument about trying to look at a different layout, Mike. And I think it's very challenging from you may need potential relief from this section if you could not. So I just want to highlight this again, not to double down on things, but I did want to point this one out, and that's why I kept it in my letter.
Sure. Okay.
Further than when you get down to number 12, the code's actually somewhat interesting. And then again, if in short version is, and I think Mike, you can take care of this, but in short version is if we're protecting some of these woodland areas and they're on private properties, essentially what it's trying to say is these private property owners can't come in and then just clear cut them themselves. So again, if we need easements or something for these woodland areas, depending on the revised layouts, I presume, again, that's something you guys could accommodate.
Right. Yeah.
Does everybody kind of know? Does everyone follow me so far?
Yep.
Okay. 13, I presume at a minimum, there'll be a homeowner association for the, well, let me restate that. The potential exists for a homeowner association for the open space, stormwater basins, things of that nature. Presuming the township, the board ultimately, I guess, doesn't want to take this as open space or dedication in some other fashion. And that might be a conversation for another day. The road network we'll get to as well would also potentially be private, this internal road network. So the short version is, Mike, is if it's anticipated that the internal road network, I'm not speaking to Blair, but the internal neighborhood road network and the open space stormwaters would be all part of an HOA. Again, something that would get addressed a little bit later on the process, not unusual. Does that all check okay on your end?
Yes.
Okay. And Jeff, I say that in that comment in that way, because I certainly do not want to presume what maybe the board is thinking, or there's some municipalities that want to take on the ownership and maintenance of open space, and everybody's different. So there's some flexibility in the code for multiple different scenarios there. So I just don't want to presume any one just yet. Is that fair?
No, I totally agree. The one thing I would ask the planning commission to consider and the applicant is that the road network be HOA owned. But that's just my opinion. It's just so far out of our network to try and get around and be able to maintain it. That would be my suggestion.
I included a specific comment to that too later, Jeff, but as we're on that topic, I think it's fair. But yeah, just the way this ends up being located somewhat outside of your, standard, snow plowing routes and maintenance routes and things like that, it's going to be a little bit of an oddball for the township to own and maintain. So I think at a minimum, you would think these roads would want to be private, and I would tend to agree with that recommendation. But again, open space might be a discussion for another day, depending on other feedback and thoughts on that. So
agreed, sir.
Okay. All right, Mike, you good so far then?
Yes.
Okay. 14, we already chatted on. I think we're all in agreement. We would prefer to see this as a preliminary going forward in the near future. And Mike, I think to your end, I would suggest that my suggestion to you is by giving us the flexibility of being preliminary, I think we are also reciprocating that flexibility of please do not over-engineer and over-design things until maybe we're a little bit further along. So I think that's how I see preliminary. I know it gets a little confusing out there in the world, but my point to you is like within reason, I want you to be able to have some flexibility so that you're not redesigning this 5 times.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. 15 speaks to lighting. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on lighting. I don't know the township's position on neighborhood lighting, but I presume, we're in a rural area here. Do you guys do street lights typically for neighbors of this magnitude, or I don't think so, but I don't know for a fact.
I don't think we have.
Okay.
We have not.
Okay, so probably leaning towards it might technically need a waiver, but again, I think we can accommodate either way there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, all third-party permits are gonna be outstanding. Mike, have you approached any of these entities in number 16 as of yet with any permits?
No, the applicant wanted to at least get through a first township meeting to kind of gauge where things are heading before getting too involved in that.
Absolutely. I would do exactly the same thing. The two red flags I just want to, or the two things I just want to throw out there, and I think again I have it a little bit later. One, just please always include Franklin and myself on any submissions to the Conservation District DEP. That way we're in the loop. If you have a pre-app meeting, things of that nature, we'd like to partake in those. I think it just helps facilitate for everybody. I will not necessarily get involved with the Chester County Health Department, but I am curious if you've had any contact with them regarding your existing test data and if they're going to allow you to reuse it or retest, or again, if we're relaying things out anyways, it might be a little bit of a moot point, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's the latter, and yeah, when we were submitting the plans, Jeff noted that as well. It's 20-year-old data, so it's going to be a question for that health department.
17
We-
specific. Sorry, go ahead.
Nate, hold on. We're talking septic right now. So do we want to wait till there's more data later on that says some of these might actually be mounds?
Yeah. Yes, that's possible. I would presume, Chuck.
From previous data, I believe it was.
I think that sounds familiar. Did Stan comment on that?
Yeah, I believe it was. That's where it came from.
I think that's where it came from. I'm not.
There it is,
jumping.
number 1 at the bottom.
Oh, down here. Yep. Yeah. So sand mounds are permitted, Chuck. They've got some different design components. So it's not atypical. But yeah, Stan's comment was depending on the lot layouts and the testing. That's all part of the matrix of decision making here.
Yeah. And their approach to septic's totally different than it was in 2008.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think it's more strict.
I wouldn't say totally, but they consider different options now.
Yeah. There's more flex. There's more options is what I would say now. So, does that cover what you want to, Chuck?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I think at some point, Mike, once you get further along in that part of the process, certainly we want to have that. It's going to have to ultimately be clarified and updated on the plans.
Right. Understood.
Okay. Let's see here. So 17 specifically requires parklands to be dedicated to the township or a fee in lieu. Looking back at the previous plan, it was actually a fee in lieu offered. So again, reading between the lines, I think that might be the path the township ends up choosing. But again, I just want to put that out there now, so that's not something that shows up at the 11th hour, Mike.
No, understood.
Okay. 18 is probably one of the bigger picture items here, guys. For everybody that was at the site meeting, I'll double down a little bit on some of the comments out there. Short version is, in my opinion, is really two things here. Is first of all, this is a significant issue as far as I'm concerned. As a professional engineer, putting my planner's hat on, representing communities. We're talking I think it's 22 lot neighborhood at the end of a narrow, underbuilt street in a different municipality. The emergency management professionals have concerns. I know New London has concerns. So we've got probably 2 or 3 things related to this topic. So one is New London, right? And I believe Ron is on the call for New London. I'm not putting him on the spot. I think he's just listening in tonight. Ultimately, I believe, Mike, the game plan would be for you guys, as discussed at the meeting, was essentially making a submission to New London Township. So has that happened yet, or again, just kind of waiting for this call?
Just waiting for this meeting. Yep.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. Just do me a favor and just at some point in the near future, make sure you're communicating with New London, just so there's no miscommunication or they don't think you're avoiding them, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so that's one part. The second part of that, guys, is I frankly will probably lean very heavily on New London's recommendation for what is necessary for Blair Road, in addition to the fire emergency personnel. So again, that's, Ron is, as a township engineer for New London, if I've got all my municipalities correct, we will be leaning on a little bit. I'm happy certainly to collaborate, But ultimately, I will defer them to a point because that road is in their municipality. It's on their liquid fuels. They have to own and maintain it. So I'm really looking for feedback from them and the emergency management professionals on that. Which then goes to maybe the third and probably the trickiest part, which is secondary access to this neighborhood. Doesn't exist. And, you know, I think that's a potential red flag for all three municipalities, for the fire and emergency personnel. We talked about it at the field meeting out there. I might also have it separately in this letter, but I do feel very strongly about that. I think we all do. And Mike, again, we did discuss it at the meeting, so this is nothing new. But I just, again, want to double down on that being a potential issue here. Again, you know, we've got essentially what's acting as a thousands of feet long glorified cul-de-sac. You know, I don't want to get into a legal argument just yet, but, you know, a lot of red flags on that aspect of it as far as I think we are all concerned. I felt like that discussion was fairly unified when we were in the field with all municipalities as well, so.
Understood.
Okay. So Planning Commission, I'll kick it back over to you guys. Anybody want to say anything differently than what I've just represented or comment further? Okay.
Well,
I'll wait this time, Dave.
I will say the only thing maybe that should be noted, because if you're not from this particular area, you may not know it. By the time this is executed, the two stations that serve this local area, there's townships 22 and 23, are combining into one entity. So I would just say make sure that in the discussions that you're having with the townships, they are aware of that, and there will be some, well, let me rephrase, there will most likely be some leadership changes within those two organizations once we're combined. So just bear that in mind.
That's a good comment, Zach. I am aware of that. Jeff has been kind enough to connect us with both Guy Swift and, I apologize, I can't think of the other.
Eric Felker.
Yes, thank you. So they've been kind of collaborating, is my understanding. And we do anticipate, I did request essentially formal comments from them for everybody's sake. We have not received those, Jeff. We should probably just double down with those guys. It'd probably be good to get those. We had some comments back before the submission came in, just big picture, but I think we should get some on the formal comments here just to have for everybody. So, but Zach, that's a point well taken. We want to make sure we're talking to the right people, but Jeff's all over that one. Chuck, Dave?
I think to be fair to Mike, we reiterate what you're saying is we lean heavily on the advice of emergency response, and if there's that concern of limited access for that many units, we need to see something of a resolution to that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's in my mind, it's up to the emergency services people. If they deem it okay, then it's okay. If they don't, we have a problem.
No, I appreciate that, guys, and I feel the same way. I lean on those guys. I've known a lot of these people in that field that are lifers, and I respect their opinions significantly. They're the ones dealing with emergencies, and they're familiar with the emergencies. So I am certainly going to do exactly that, as well as lean on New London. So, Mike, just to give you that feedback, and then while we're kind of talking emergency access, I did want to double down slightly. Zach had brought it up, but you know, I think unfortunately, I just think this emergency access kind of loop kind of missed the mark. I think that was well intended, but not really, again, what we were getting at. What we're getting at is, you know, the community at large. You know, that's not really moving the needle. What we need is something for the community at large. So does that make sense, Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
Nate, if I will too, that bottom loop, maybe it does satisfy a blockage of that cul-de-sac road, but what about lots 9, 10, 11? How are you going to get to those? They're at the northern part. I mean, there's no back entrance to that either. So
We're sort of limited was my point, right? It's a lot of work and a lot of construction, but not really provide a lot of value there, you know?
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me flip back. What are we on here? So that's that one. Okay, so 19 is street construction. Mike, that's easy. You'll get the details squared away. We'll coordinate that. Again, I'm going to defer to Blair Road to New London, so that's straightforward. 20, 21, and a little bit 22, I do want to just touch on briefly. I think there was some discussion at our field meeting, again, about the, rural context of the neighborhood and the area and the proposed development versus the suburban context. And, does it make sense to have sidewalks all around and curbs and 24 feet wide? Or would the planning commission and everybody rather see something maybe softer, a little bit more rural in the layout of this neighborhood? So I think these kind of group those all together. Ultimately, it might lead to some waivers, or maybe that's where some flexibility is provided. But is the planning commission kind of having the same vibe in regards to, again, sidewalks, curbs? I know the emergency management people are a little bit, we're getting exhausted by curbs and islands and all that. But curious what your guys' take on that is.
I mean, I thought their comment on the curbs, a rolled curb instead of whatever horizontal or the
Blunt.
curbs that we think of. If that
A rolled curb, or yeah,
seem to make
could be a
lot of
better
sense.
option, a little less urbanized type look, And then I think
Right.
on the sidewalk perspective, again, it's like, in a neighborhood of this, do we need sidewalks? So, people are walking in the road, or that's enough. And I think it goes to kind of the next comment of my letter, which is, again, kind of that regional trail connectivity hat, and make sure we're thinking about that big picture wise too, and having that flexibility. So I think it all ties together a little bit. So I think my feedback to Mike was, I know the county's got a bunch of good resources on how to lay out neighborhoods in this kind of context. But if the planning commission's on that same vibe, give him a little bit of flexibility. Because what it's going to do is if he's got, again, road improvements, emergency access, but maybe you can make the infrastructure, less severe, less costly. I think it's a little bit helps that whole process,
So as far as sidewalks, I fully agree. We should be running a loop around the outside of this property, let people walk down the street like they do in suburban settings. So Rachel Lane and Julian Drive people walk down that, but then they can branch out and walk all the way around this property, which ultimately would hook up to anything that is adjacent to it. And we have great examples of that in this area, where there's ring bituminous paths that go around the outside. And people use them all the time. They're highly successful.
Chuck, I mean, I think you're exactly hitting where my head's at on it, just seeing these things all over the county. So I really align really strongly with that, in my opinion. But again, I'm just the engineer, so I don't want to step on anybody else's toes here, but I think you said it very well.
I support that view as well. I think that makes sense. I don't think we need sidewalks in there, but a path would be worthwhile.
Keep in mind, ultimately, we might need some waivers because of that, but I think it's a give and take. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
Yep.
Dr. Hoffman, this is former supervisor John Auerbach. The comment I would make related to the sidewalks is that the decision for sidewalks and street lighting is a board decision, not a planning commission decision.
We make the recommendation to them.
Ultimately, any waivers will have to get granted by the board. John's absolutely correct. Ultimately, the board does not have to agree with that. The board can certainly go in a different direction. So there's a little bit, I guess, at risk on behalf of the applicant. Planning commission is making recommendations and providing advice. So, so John is absolutely correct on that. Beth, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I think, Mike, just again, if you're looking at it in kind of a new vision, maybe that just gives you a little bit of feedback just to consider as part of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we have the prior plans, and it showed essentially a trail network, like it's being described. So I think that's something that gives us a starting point.
And I think, and again, I think even to John's point, right? Like, I don't know where this all goes yet, right? But, it might be something where in a preliminary nature, again, that's why I think a preliminary plan is going to be good, right? Give the board an opportunity to review and comment before you go to a final plan and final engineering and all that. So I think John's point is well taken, that a preliminary plan here might be good because of some of those specific issues.
Right.
Okay. All right. So on my end, I feel like that kind of covers us for 21 through 23. And I will suggest, again, I don't know exactly the full multi-municipal trail plan, but I think Chuck maybe said it, again, having some flexibility. Ultimately, if it's an HOA that owns the open space, not having to go back for permission to connect to the other municipality. So I think we just want to maximize flexibility and opportunities is how I would term that, Mike.
Okay.
All right, who wants to get into the weed on stormwater? Anybody?
I think Jeff does.
All right, so I think I'm just trying to think, Mike. is
Before
there
you
any-
start,
Yeah, go
before you
ahead.
start, I just kind of want to have a precursor to it. I believe that the Churchill Road failure is a result of the development at the top of the hill. And so therefore I really feel it's very important that we get it right, not only on plan, but that it's executed correctly. For those who don't know, Churchill had this summer, we had a big washout. The water ran across, instead of going through the culvert, it ran across the road and then eroded the road on the low side and wiped out a lane. It's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. So now we see what the result is if stormwater's not carefully, and we have hundreds of pages of documents here, but ultimately I'm sure there was hundreds of pages of documents on that other subdivision, but the guy that's driving the bulldozer also needs to execute his portion correct also. So that's just kind of my precursor to it.
Yeah, and I think that's well said. I've been well versed in Churchill Road, and Jeff and I have spent many a minute out there trying to come up with solutions and trying to be cost effective, but yeah, potentially costly ones for sure, Chuck. I think two things I just want to say then on stormwater, certainly on our team, I've got guys, frankly, I give that to my stormwater gurus in my office. I kind of oversee it, but like I got the guys that are doing our stormwater reviews are the same guys that are designing the projects for, Longwood Gardens and Villanova and GlaxoSmithKline. So I got my pros on any sort of stormwater thing, which is good. And then keep in mind, they're going to need a permit from DEP, Conservation District, and NPDES permit, which in Chester County, we are very fortunate that we've got a very good conservation district that does very thorough reviews as well. That being said, I'm in the middle of a dozen construction projects, an inch of rain, dust storms. It's constant. So it can certainly be a challenge, and it's something we're all going to have to be aware of. At this point, I don't know how much we need to go into the weeds here, Mike. I'm certainly going to need a lot more testing out here. That's probably one of the big takeaways I would say from my letter. Otherwise, backing things off the property line, some converting some outlet pipes to level spreaders, some things like that. But those are probably the big picture items. But I think at this point, until you kind of relay things out and get into the nitty gritty, it's pretty high level type stuff.
Agreed.
The board's going to have a lot of questions on the TMDL requirements for this as well. So
yeah, interesting. I wonder if it's a good point. Yeah, I wonder. So I guess Mike, what he's thinking is, if there's a way for us to kind of work with you on some of these designs such that the township gets some credit for their programs. Could be a win-win type situation out there. It's just something to keep in the back of our minds. That's a good point.
Sure. Okay.
All right. I'm making a note so I don't forget to talk about that with my crew tomorrow. I like that idea. I got to check because Jeff, I think some of it we don't need to go down those weeds right now. So I kind of term it traffic. It's probably a little bit of a loose term. I don't know that we necessarily need a traffic study per se. It's a little bit of a tweener in that regard. Again, I'm going to defer to New London. It's their intersection. It's their road. If they feel that what they need for their requirements and what they need to evaluate, I'm going to just defer to them in this case because they're their roads and their municipality. So that's kind of where my head is at. Otherwise, again, we kind of get into emergency vehicles, turning radius, the emergency access, fairly straightforward thing. So Mike, anything here jumping out at you, or are these all pretty straightforward in that regard?
I think with 37 and then 39, well, first 37, this may be more a question for the attorneys, but our intent least preliminarily, was we're picking things up within the property, tying into the road. So I understand, the spirit of it, I understand, but I think there's that interpretation of it as far as technically the improvements are starting from an existing road that's within the property, within the township. And it's continuing to within the property. So, and I think that's the argument the attorney would make. And again, it's not my bailiwick. So I think it's probably a separate discussion, but obviously New London has asked, we're gonna provide them the submission as well. So I think their feedback is, and their comments are gonna, have a big influence on how the planning commission and the board view this as well. So we understand that.
Say no more, Mike. I think I'm going to compliment you. I think that was well said because, the way I phrased it was like, you're good with all these comments, no big deal kind of thing. And you're like, well, time out. Like there's going to be a longer discussion. So I think that's fair. I think you're serving your client well there. And I totally understand. I'm not overcommitting you to anything. I think you're seeing where we're coming from. I think there's a lot more information that needs to be, out there. And certainly, depending on the outcomes of that and those paths, could be whatever legal, so we say no more. I think we're on the same page.
Okay. And I think
Nate,
oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I don't know if it's the appropriate time for this question or not, but Ron Reagan's ears may perk up a little. We're in a very unique situation here. Again, I'm hoping that these roads can be owned by the HOA, but the township does have an impact fee per lot. I don't know how that's going to play in on a lane that goes into or a road that goes into an adjoining township.
Really good question that I don't know that I know the answer to. I did flag that in here just so we didn't lose track of it, but I think that's a unique question that might need a little bit of further investigation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mike. Jeff, I hadn't really thought of that. It's interesting. I'll have to look into it. I'm not sure how that code's written, so we'll take a closer look at that. Okay.
Nate, it's Ron. Can I chime in?
Sorry, Ron, you got dragged into it.
No problem. I just wanted, I guess, the traffic fee, impact fee, if that's part of a 209 study, I think those have to be used for specific projects that were identified in the 209 study.
Correct.
So now to come in and say, okay, we want to widen the road or improve a road in a neighboring township, I doubt that was in the 209 study. So it may not be that those funds can be used for that. But certainly I think we're getting to a point where before the developer and his engineer move much farther on the project itself, the access, emergency, and just day-to-day and ownership of the roads and all of that is extremely critical to get nailed down. And the school, Jeff, you said I think Nate said you had talked to the school about buses and access.
Correct. They have the plan and we're waiting a response. So when I get back to the office on Monday, I'm going to reach out to the school district again, as well as Chief Felker.
Because normally school buses won't go into private developments and they won't go on cul-de-sac, go into cul-de-sac. So we got a situation where kids could be having to go clear out to the intersection of Blair and Pennock Bridge to get on a bus. I don't know. But we need to work that out. Buses, emergency vehicles, and just the township road. And I think the township's position is going to be that this road the subdivision doesn't front on the side of the road, but it does front on the end of the road. So you need access to that road and make some improvements to that. So, but get the plan to us. We thought we would get it before now. And make your formal application. And I just wanted to apologize to everybody that I couldn't be at the field meeting. I had a doctor's appointment, and your planning commission knows how difficult it is to reschedule appointments with doctors. So I'll leave that at that. So thanks.
Ron, to that point, that people not people having to, they would drive their kids out on that road. So you're going to need even a wider road because every morning there's going to be a queue of 10 to 15 cars on that road.
Chuck, I think there's a lot of, it starts snowballing away from us a little bit. I think you're exactly right. And that's why we reached out to them. That's why we want to bring it up as an issue, because you've got multiple factors. Like I said earlier, it's, you know, is it private? Is it public? Is there a cul-de-sac? Does it stop? Does it start? Is Blair improved or not improved? Where does it pick them up? Where do the people park? Now they're blocking the road. All these things start, you know.
And Nate, just to give you an example of another development, has a single egress and one way in, one way out. They are dedicated township roads, but the school bus companies will not go in the development because of how it's situated. So I'm just saying there's an example of dedicated township roads where the school buses will not go into. The parents have to drive them to Parsons Road.
Sometimes I've seen, even with, I won't name the school district, but sometimes it becomes like a time thing where they're like, we're not going to go all the way down there and come back. Like, you meet us here, because it's all part of their math game. So yeah, so understood. And I think that's going to be a big part of it. So I appreciate you chiming in, Ron. Mike, I think obviously some more work to do on all that. And again, after this call, I think you guys got to make a decision on how, when, and who you get in touch with New London, because we're going to be a little bit stuck in neutral until we get some feedback from them, you know?
Yep, understood.
All right, I'm going to keep plugging away then, guys, if that's okay. I did have a chunk of landscaping here, nothing too crazy. Just so everybody again is aware, I've got, I think just in my office alone, I've got 3 registered landscape architects. So I always have them involved in projects of this size. A couple small comments here. Generally a pretty robust planting plan, to be honest with you. A couple tweaks. I think we've also talked about maybe, again, more naturalistic, which is one of our comments. But again, I think, 41 through 45 here, Mike, anything jumping out at you as not being able to be addressed?
No.
Okay.
Chuck, I want to add,
Chuck,
I want to add to that I think habitat is important in your landscaping, because your landscaping is so wide, and so trees don't only provide borders and whatnot visually, they also provide habitat for the wildlife out here. So please consider that by grouping.
And I have a question or a statement too. Whether the roads are owned by the HOA or the township, regardless, I would like to see the street trees be planted outside of the right of way. The township is experiencing some problems where we weren't as vigilant in the past as we are now. And it's becoming a problem.
First of all, you're not alone. That's every municipality. It's a hodgepodge out there, and it's total chaos. A lot of transition over the years, different ways of doing it. But yeah, that's what I included there for number 45 in the letter, so that doesn't get missed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I would piggyback on that. Do we require street trees? Because I don't see this development needing street trees.
Yes, the code does require them, Chuck. So again, I'll go back to the landscape plan for now. If I can zoom in here, but give me half a second. Go here. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so the landscape plan. So you can obviously see the street trees on the plan. I think that's pretty clear cut where the street trees are. And the code requirement is right here. So yeah, 1 per every 40 feet.
How does the rest of the board feel about that? I feel like we should use those trees someplace else.
I agree with you.
Somewhere else on the property on this development?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, maybe again, take some of this feedback to your landscape guys, just kind of have them, as you're relaying things out, we're factoring in this woodland, trying to maintain these woodlands, or again, if we're going to relocate street trees and try to create habitat, things like that, are we expanding woodlands or creating woodland areas or creating meadows, different things of that nature too. So I think that's all good feedback, Mike, for your landscape architect on this plan.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, and I may be putting the cart before the horse here. One of the issues too with street trees and some of our older developments, it was a great idea, but they ended up being next to a Pico box, or I don't know what you want to call them, control centers or what they are. And then they've grown over 30 years and are causing problems with those now too. So if there's some way we could take that into account and maybe not plant trees if we do street trees close to those types of things.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. Yeah, it's again, real world problem that's happening all the time. And I'll tell you what's
Even-
and I don't want to get too far off topic, but man, like these townhouse type communities with these small lots, but then still have all these requirements, and you're trying to jam in a driveway and a walkway and utilities and street trees, and it gets very, very challenging very quickly. So it's a constant issue. So
Question, one thing I didn't pick up on, and I might have just missed it. Are we planning above ground utilities or below ground utilities for this neighborhood?
Mike, I presume they would all be below ground. I don't know if I saw a note per se, but I mean, I
Yes.
feel like that's fairly typical at this point. Would you agree?
Agree. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Isn't that 100% up to Pico?
I don't know that Pico, I mean, every project I've done, they've run underground, Chuck. So I don't see them running above ground for neighborhoods like this.
Yeah, but I'm
Okay.
just saying, ultimately, isn't it their decision? I don't know.
I don't have to be quite. A lot of codes have it written there. I can't say I recall seeing it in ours, so I'll double check. But I would say that's a little bit, it's become almost typical at this point. 15, 20 years ago, it was a little bit more up in the air. At this point, underground utilities almost are the usual.
Yeah.
Given the
Um,
size of these plantings that we're talking about here, I would just like to suggest that all native plants be considered. Your note says the majority of them are, and that's good, but really, if you're going to start putting this many plants in a landscape with that, even a small portion of non-native are going to be sizable. And if you're going to attempt to essentially initiate the development of a woodland area, non-native would not really be appropriate.
Mhm.
Well said, Paul. Thank you. All right, let me flip away here real quick. So, all right, that gets us down to kind of the general stuff here. So this is a little bit more of a hodgepodge. 46, we, at this point, we record all sheets. So just a heads up on that for you and your team. That's just the cleanest way to do it. 47, there was a little inconsistency with islands in the center of the cul-de-sac. Talking to the emergency management people, public works guys, that's not something anybody's really interested in at this point. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong.
I would not recommend them.
Okay. So just be consistent, Mike, and I think we can get rid of that.
Sure.
48, speaking more towards London Grove being to the north. They were at our field meeting. They were taking a little bit more of a hands-off approach, with the exception that they wanted to make sure there's a residence up there, as well as the connection to the Chester water main, that things were coordinated with them for both access to that resident, what this ultimate water main connection is and is not. Do they need a pump station of some sort? So just they want to be kept in a loop in that. I think that was something we all agreed to in the field, Mike. Is that fair?
Yep.
Have you had any contact with Chester Water?
Not beyond the initial like one call coordination. We had discussions with them, and they were going out to market out, and they confirmed that we could use that 48-inch main for service.
Okay, yeah, that was my slight concern. That's their main trunk line, and I honestly don't know what that all entails. So I just want to make sure you're not making a bigger problem than you need for trying to connect to that.
Right.
Okay, so you're reaching out to them, London Grove, and then I think you referenced an easement exists, so we just want to make sure that easement does exist, right? We don't need to go on private property to access that.
Correct.
Okay, and then London Grove's feedback from the field meeting was, I'm sorry, I'm jumping to 49. Right now you showed us the stub road connecting to London Grove, but London Grove was suggesting that it could be simply a driveway to that residence.
Yep, that makes sense.
Did everybody follow me on that one? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, everybody good? I'll just pull it up real quick. Right now, the plan it's showing a road all the way up here, but ultimately all that road's gonna do is serve that one resident. London Grove said there was nothing else coming down the pike here, so they felt like this stretch of road on that one side could simply be a driveway, kind of reduce the work happening down in this stretch, so. just to
Nate,
keep-
while you have it here and you have it blown up, I wasn't gonna bring it up otherwise. I had a nice gentleman come in the office this morning asking questions. And my impression was that Mr. Robert G. Porter is having water issue flow problems from Chester Water Authority for his residents. So I don't know how true or false that is, but I think that's something Mr. Joyce has to keep in mind if they do end up extending that line down to the development.
Okay, good to know.
I like that. Thanks for the heads up, Chuck. Okay, what else we got? That was 49, 50, again, just some clarity on the infiltration testing, Mike, so I'm sure you can clean that up, correct?
Yep, right.
51, we've already chatted on about private roads. I think feel pretty strong on that at this point. 52, sidewalk, clarify the detail, but it sounds like we're maybe changing direction slightly on that, so that's more to come on that, I think. 53, these are all just frankly very generic, kind of typical standard note cleanup things. Nothing jumping out there, I don't think. And then 54, what I attempted to do again was just to try to catch everybody else that's out there that's going to be involved in this to the best I could, just so we're not missing anybody or missing any options here. So that is my letter in I think we've covered that in roughly an hour, which isn't too bad, guys. So that's the bulk of it. I think, I don't know if it's really worth anybody's time or effort going in through AECom's letter at this point. That's essentially, they've got to go do all their septic testing with the county and they got to do their planning modules. So I think that's pretty straightforward. Mike, anything from AECom's letter that's going to be complicated or challenging?
No, as I mentioned, we were holding off to get through the township process first before we move the ball on that.
Okay.
One quick question, sorry. So looking at the actual satellite view of the lot in question, Mr. Potter, I think it's Mr. Potter, the property just to the north has what looks like a driveway cut into a field that is serving as his driveway right now. That will be eliminated and replaced by essentially a small strip of concrete going north at the basically the western intersection and shooting north. Is that the intention?
I think we got to get some clarity maybe from London Grove exactly how they want to handle that. I think there's a little confusion on the kind of this road, like you see how the GIS map shows Blair Road going all the way through?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like there's a little bit of confusion out there.
Clearly.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. So I think, we're going to kind of defer a little bit to London Grove on how they want to handle that. But at the time, their initial reaction was a driveway from that residence going south would be something that they would consider.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I agree. Look, I think at the end of the day, London Grove, this resident needs to kind of coordinate that with the Chester Valley team for what works for those guys. I don't know that, at the end of the day, that's their, I think it's a little bit their call.
When we were out there, I believe that it was actually said that that road was not in Franklin, but it is. That driveway, I should say.
Yep, but see how the line jogs and everything, like even the property line jogs. Don't go by the GIS, I guess is my point, Chuck.
No, not the GIS. Go back to the development plan.
So yeah, do you have how much survey information do you guys have, Mike, on that?
Yeah, if you go to sheet, let's see, it's page 3 is the existing conditions in that area. So that hatch, you can see the hatch, existing road / driveway. So I think instead of that hatch delineates to be removed, but I think we would just maintain a portion of that up, maybe up to the intersection with the, well, potentially the layout changes, but based on this current layout, like if Rachel Lane, if the new road, or if the new Blair Road ended at the intersection with Rachel Lane, then that gravel driveway could essentially continue, or if that needed to be paved.
Jeff, do you know whether or not that's a township road?
I think the thought was, Chuck, was that it's like a paper street or something, right? Paul, Jeff, is that what somebody had suggested?
My understanding, it is a paper street, and I can at least tell you, Chuck, for the past 35 years, we've never maintained it.
It's kind of up to the homeowner, I guess.
Paper streets, I am not going to pretend to be an expert. I get totally confused by them. I'm dealing with one currently, and it's a nightmare. But typically, it's essentially a private property or properties that have rights to the paper street. It's never been dedicated to the township, and the property owners adjacent own and maintain those areas. Typically, it was intended to be dedicated, but that time period is also passed, which oftentimes makes it very complicated from like a legal standpoint. So it gets a little bit haywire. So in this case, I think ultimately, and I'm going to lean on Mike Survey guys to kind of do the due diligence here, but existing 33-foot, let's call it right of way or easement to this property gets extinguished, but a new one gets created to get access to this property.
So does this property have a right of way on it?
That's what that Blair Road is on this property.
It's a right of way. It's not a. I didn't understand the term paper street.
Yeah, I'm using the term right away, but I'm doing my air quotes, right? Like, I haven't seen the paper. Is it an easement? Is it a paper street? Paper street's essentially a right of way that's never been dedicated to another entity.
It needs to be sorted out, right?
Absolutely. I think ultimately, I guess where I'm getting at too is access to the Porter residence needs to be maintained in satisfactory fashion to that resident and London Grove Township.
Okay.
Mike, are we on the same wavelength?
Yeah, and we include our plan references on the cover sheet as far as the provenance of the info.
Do you have anything on that, Blair? If you have it, send it over. I'd be curious to take a look at it.
I think we didn't run a title search, but we were using the previously approved plans by Kelly Engineers.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Chuck's point, it might be worth just doing a little bit more digging on that because we certainly don't want to err on anything there if there's confusion on that one, as opposed to maybe making an assumption.
Yeah, I'd recommend you do the research.
All right.
All right.
Oh, sorry, I just want to make a note of that too real quick. Otherwise,
I would think Robert Porter has some documentation on it.
You would hope so.
I would hope.
All right. That was that. Sewer. I'm trying to think from the county letter real quick. I think we've kind of been on the same wavelength with a lot of the county letters. They had some other suggestions here and there. I think they were also kind of on that rural context note. Had some other suggestions, but I don't think there's anything else too much of note there. So I think that kind of covers everything I wanted to cover. And that checked all my notes too before we started. So I think I'm going to take a breather, but that's kind of getting through everything that we have. So Dr. Hoffman, I don't know if you want to turn it over to maybe the Planning Commission. I know we also have some residents here, so at some point I think we want to give them an opportunity. But I'll answer questions or defer to Mike going forward here and go from there.
Thanks, Nate. First, Planning Commission, any further questions or comments for Mike? Any input for him going forward?
Not at this point for me, no.
None for me.
Mike, do you have anything before we open it up to the public?
I would just say the emergency access is obviously a big item in addition to the status of Blair Road. But just in reference to comment 39 in Nate's letter, leaning on the recommendations of the emergency services folks, I mean, it's not a code section that we're trying to come in with a by right plan to the extent that it's desired. You know, we've discussed some changes possibly to sidewalks and road widths, things of that nature that the township would be agreeable to working with the client and with the applicant in terms of waivers. But in terms of the emergency access, essentially the owner is compelled to seek an easement through either neighboring township or, well, neighboring properties. So if they hit a dead end there, they really don't have a recourse. So I'm just wondering, what is the township come across this situation before? And, you know, and this may not be the appropriate venue for this discussion, but that's just sort of where my head goes to in terms of how do we address the secondary access, which practically is, makes sense, but it's not something that at least is directly codified.
Yeah, I don't think this is the right forum to address a hypothetical of what if we can't do what we would like to do or what we intend to do. Unless anybody, Jeff or Nate, has any other.
Oh, no, I think I agree, Dr. Hoffman. I think, Mike, I think your comments are received. I don't know that we're there yet. We haven't seen any options, alternatives, feedback, input on why something's not feasible or hasn't been, expended. And I don't, again, we don't need to get into it today, but, I think, we can certainly take a closer look at the code regarding health, safety, and welfare requirements and various sections of the code regarding such concerns as well, that I think we can certainly stand on as well to kind of buttress that argument, in addition to, the emergency personnel, cul-de-sac lengths, things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When I open it up to any public comment, please remember to state your name and, being a resident of the township. Any public questions or comments on this plan?
Yeah, this is John Auerbach. I'm a former supervisor and a resident for 46 years. Just related to the overall layout, where the whole thing is forced to the north, having to remove all those trees, and then it leaves an open area to the south, which really is unsuitable for agriculture because it's so small, and there are really very few straight lines where you could actually do agriculture in there. So you may want to consider rearranging the plan so that the northern area trees are preserved and the southern area is built on the ag piece. You could actually flip the site as a mirror image, taking this northern boundary and putting it on the southern boundary, and then the cul-de-sac would point northeast. The other comment is just related to winter road maintenance. I assume if the township's going to have to maintain these roads, and I know Jeff doesn't want to, that the roads would have to be entirely suitable for winter maintenance. We have developments in a township that are unsuitable and we don't service them. Just related to the sidewalk and street lighting comment I made previously related to a board decision, you might want to get an indication from the board of which way they're leaning. So if they don't want them, they can avoid a whole lot of extra engineering. And then the last comments related to secondary access. Just looking at a Chesco Views map here, it looks like on this map, Blair Road extends to the north from the intersection of the London Grove and New London Township line, and Blair Road runs approximately north along the boundaries between those townships. But if you extend that further, it reaches a road called Porter Road, which will access West Avondale Road. That could be a secondary path to get to a major roadway, which would be West Avondale Road. But it'd be all in, it's right on the border, so I don't know whether it be London Groves or New London. just an option you may want to look at. No other comments.
Thank you, John. Any other comments from public attending?
Dr. Hoffman, if you don't mind, I just wanted to make sure, I know of 3 specific residents that are on, so I just want to make sure that they have the ability to ask a question if they wish. The first one I'd like to recognize is Charles Mark. If you could hear me, sir, do you have anything you'd like to offer tonight? All right. Oh. Mr. Mark, one last time, do you have any questions?
Remind him that he's muted.
You're muted, Mr. Mark. If you want to talk, please activate your microphone. Okay. All right, the Voke family. I know that there's Mr. Voke and Mr. Patone. So if Barbara Voke can hear me, if you could take your microphone off mute, and we can see if you have any questions. You're still on mute, Barbara.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can,
you hear
Mr.
me now,
Voke.
Jeff?
Mr. Voke.
Okay. Now, we had a question here earlier about the water. Where are they going to get the water from?
I'll jump in there. So the water is going to come from the north. There's an existing 48-inch Chester Water Authority main just north of the property.
Okay. All right, so we don't have to worry about them taking anything out of our water table. in the
Now,
area.
for now, public water is proposed.
Okay. And you're going to have on-site septic, which means, and I heard a mound being mentioned. Now, is each one of those lots going to have a perk test?
Mr. Joyce?
Yes, we'll have to provide the required testing data to the county health department.
So yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
I can't think of anything else. Do you have any idea what the average square footage of those houses are going to be as planned?
The footprints as shown are more representative and aren't necessarily the finished product. But I think these are in the neighborhood of 4,000 square feet.
Okay. I think that's all we have to say.
And anything from Mr. Patone?
I'm here, Jeff. I just want to make sure that the development does not dump water on my property. Make sure that the water managed system put their own water. We are in the lower end of this project. So they have to design enough drainage. They have to hold their own water. Is there a plan where they hold their own water?
Mr. Joyce?
Yeah, well, as part of the township's approvals and the NPDS permit approval, we need to demonstrate that we're at minimum not making the stormwater situation any worse. In fact, we have to reduce the volume and peak rates.
Well, that's one of my concerns. The other option that I had in mind, you need a road to get at from the plot, either through Volk to North to Guernsey, or through our property to Pennock Bridge Road.
Yeah, today we haven't explored those options yet, but Yeah, based on what we're looking at, I mean, those two options would be in play.
Yeah, I heard you were talking about getting that on up to either through Volk or Guernsey or through Porter Road up to Avondale, New London Road. They're very long distance to connect.
Oh, yeah, is that you going?
I don't know where I'm at there now. I can't tell the plan that they have shown.
What's that picture showing?
So I'm pulling up.
Penix Bridge Road.
This should be Pantone's property right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, show me where it is.
Outlined in red here.
Is that?
No, I don't see. You had it. You had it before. Bring it back.
Nate,
I'll bring up. This is the plan. This is the plan they're proposing. That shows your property to the south here.
I don't see it.
I see I see nothing yet.
Nate, take your mouse and circle Mr. Patone's name and tax parcel number.
Turn the camera.
Turn it down. Turn it down.
Turn the camera.
Turn the camera like you had before. There you go. There you go. Now you see it. Now you see it. Yeah, I see the two small retention ponds towards my property.
Oh, and you're red down there, circled.
And I'm on the bottom of that. And the elevation, if you have a topo survey in there, it'll tell you that my property is a lower elevations. Everything from that property seems to lean towards our property, not on Volk. Volk is up from the 44 acres. I am down from the 44 acres. Connecting to Bridge Road, North
No, Penix Road.
Pennock Bridge Road.
Any comments, Mr. Joyce?
No, other than that, our stormwater management design would, as I noted, would do at minimum improve the existing conditions. So there is a point of drainage onto your property as you're noting, and
Yeah,
we'd
right
be
on
required
right where you're sending.
Yeah.
Right where you have that red square. Where you have that red square.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, well, from there to the right of it is our property down in there, and we are all lower elevation from that 44 acre plot.
Understood.
Yeah, they're gonna try and improve that so that it doesn't run off on you.
No.
Yeah.
And if on your far left is Jim Marks, 200 feet of it is it's Jim Marks' property.
Charlie Mark.
Charlie Mark.
Charlie Mark, the son.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's Jim's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it's Mark's property. That's part of the 8 acres that they purchased from the Mercers.
Okay, Jeff, did you any more questions from Mr. Patone or the Volks?
No, I don't have any.
I don't have any.
This is Charlie Merritt.
Oh,
I couldn't
there's
get my
Charlie?
mic down mute. No, I figured it out.
Okay, if the
I agree
Volks
with
then
Mr.
are done,
Patone on
could
the
you mute?
stormwater
Thank
management.
you. Go ahead, Mr. Mark.
I would agree with Mr. Patone on the stormwater management. We're also downhill of the stormwater pond to the left. And we already have water issues where they installed 2 swales in the current agriculture field that are dumping water on us. And I'm just curious if that's going to put more water on us or not.
Can you go back to the satellite map, Nate? Please.
You can see the 2 swales on the satellite view that were installed probably in the last 8 years, I would guess.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna highlight Mr. Mark's property, I believe is this one right there in red, so everybody can see that. And then Mr. Mark, how do you, if you don't mind me asking, so this is your property?
It's my
You-
parents' property. I rent the farm and operate it.
Okay, so do you also own property somebody also owns property adjacent to this?
Yes, we own the little green sliver there you see below it that's along Mr. Patone's and goes up behind Brackens and everybody there along Pennock.
Okay.
And then I live right there at 780 Pennock.
Okay.
Also, I was wondering if there's improvements to Blair Road that are required, are they going to be responsible for taking all the trees in the hedgerow down if they widen the road? And who would take those costs on?
I don't know that we're there yet. I don't know that we know what New London wants to see there. So I think that's an unknown question at this point in time. But yeah, I mean, that's a tight road, vegetation, a lot of complications there. So I think that's a question that's out there in the world, Mr. Mark, that does not have an answer just yet.
And also I had a question about the EMS stuff. Previously this year, Mr. Porter had a chimney fire and I luckily saw the smoke and ran up there and notified him. And it caused a real traffic jam for the fire company to get in there and get his chimney fire put out. So hopefully they're referencing that when they're thinking about how to access this property. They actually tried to drive through our cornfield and up a swale through the corn to get to his house. Google Maps tends to send people on crazy ways. And I mean, I've lived here 39 years my whole life. And as far as I knew, Blair Road ended at the end of the road. And it was former Porter Road all the way out to Avondale, New London, but that's been closed almost my entire lifetime.
Interesting.
And there was no asphalt. I mean, I plow Mr. Porter out and make sure, because New London Township doesn't usually set that as a priority in their plow route because there's only 2 residents, the Ellingsworths, I believe, and Mr. Porter. But
This is Justin Porter.
I thought it was all gravel. I mean,
This is Justin Porter. I'm Robert Porter's grandson. And for far as I've known, his mailbox is at the end of on the corner of Blair Road and what you perceive to turn left onto Blair Road for that reason, because it's always been viewed as a driveway. We've maintained it along with the help of Charlie, fortunately. But I mean, if there's been potholes, we've thrown the stone in it. You know, it's always been a driveway to us. So I'm kind of a little bit taken aback and a little bit surprised that we're all of a sudden calling this a main township road, because it's never been maintained. It's not even asphalt. So just that's something that worries me.
Well, yeah, excuse me, Mr. Porter, thanks you for jumping on. I appreciate that feedback. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think anybody's representing Blair Road north of that turn as a township road. I think we're saying the opposite. We're saying we've always interpreted that to be a, glorified driveway, for lack of a better term. So I think we're on the same page there.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mark, please?
Yeah, Jeff.
I'm not going to use the right terminology, but what I'll call those 3 agriculture trenches Nate can point to with his mouse. Has there been any problem from the water exiting that property? Have those trenches helped? Have they made it worse? That'd be a question for Mr. Mark and Mr. Patone.
I would say they made it worse on our side of the fence. I've got a trench that runs down my fence line now. They basically go right to the property line, to our property line.
Mr. Mark, do they connect?
The 2 upper left.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is there? It looks. I mean, they're showing like a little blue stream kind of up here on the corner. I mean, does that exist out there?
Yeah. So there's a spring. If you look, where you zoomed in there, about where that red line kicks at like a 30 or 45 degree angle.
That's kind of where it starts up.
Yeah, that ground all up in there usually stays fairly wet. Like when I bale hay, it takes a little longer to dry, not just because of the shade, because of the ground moisture. But there's a spring in there that If it gets real dry, it'll dry up, but it's a small creek that runs through our woods and then connects to that creek down about where Rick Brackens is and then flows through my cow pasture.
Yeah,
It's a
that's what it looks like.
tributary, I think, to, what do we have here? The west branch of the White Clay, or
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
further
Yeah.
down below my parents' house.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 little kind of nooks that kind of go through here that kind of match up to those swales on the property, the way the contours all go. Those 3 kind of fingers go down to these stream corridors, seems to be kind of the context that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it feeds into there and then flows down to the creek there below our house. That whole creek there, southwest of my farm basically starts in that woods, either up in that corner and then over near Rick Brackens where there's like a swamp.
Okay, that's helpful information.
Yeah, I just don't want to see it get wetter, or flood more.
Well, and I think what we want to make sure is that the water is getting directed to the streams and not being directed to private properties, on the lawns and backyards. We want to direct it to the existing stream corridors. And that's some of the stuff some of the comments in our letter, I don't know if you were listening the whole time, but, speaking to some changes to the stormwater design to kind of help facilitate that. Certainly don't want to overpromise anything, but, something we'll keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's not a steady stream that flows all the time. If it gets dry out, it will dry up. But as long as we have our regular rains, it usually tends to stay pretty wet from that upper corner all the way down.
All right,
And,
Jeff, anybody else?
There's a gentleman online. He's under Zoom user, has a blue polo shirt on. I'm not sure who he is, but I just wanted to see if he had any questions.
Hey, I'm Brendan Riley, just north of the Volks. And I like what you guys had to say with like the stormwater. It's definitely right up on the line of our property. I don't know what the setback would be or whatever the technical term would be, but that seems like it'd be way too close where it is. And we also deal with water issues. So it seems like this whole area is a bit of a sponge with too much rain. We're all downhill from that one lot. And I've got videos of streams running through the field as if they just sprung out of God's creation. I don't know. When it rains hard. But yeah, so we have that issue, and then I don't see how they would get that emergency access road, because obviously we wouldn't give it to them. And then I have a doubt anybody else would, but that's just my few concerns and thoughts on the whole matter.
Thank you. Yeah, we made comment on that stormwater already.
I have a question for Mr. Joyce. Couple questions, actually.
Sure.
The current review clock runs out on January 20th.
Mhm.
So I had asked for an extension letter to the end of April. Are we going to receive that?
Yeah, so yeah, I brought it up. I spoke with the applicant earlier this week and mentioned that, and he asked that we get through the meeting first, and I'll touch base with him. And I think he'll need to make a decision which way the project is going, but assuming he's going forward, then yes, he would grant the extension.
Okay, what I would like is, Mr. Joyce, is if we could have that extension letter on or before December 10th. So I can put that in the board books for December 17th. I'm trying to stay on top of things.
Okay. I'll make that a priority.
Yep, the other thing, our next planning commission meeting is scheduled for January 8th. I'm asking this to the group. Do we realistically think we're going to have anything for the January 8th meeting? Or do we just want to say we'll meet again on February 5th? You have any comments, Mr. Joyce?
I think it's probably realistic to assume February 5th.
Okay. I'm done, I promise.
And we don't have anything else that we
I
know
have
of for
something
January,
I'd
Jeff?
like to, sorry.
I'll wait and ask after Paul has his question.
Yeah, so I was just reviewing again the plantings, and I noticed something. One of the proposed trees is what's called a seedless sweet gum. It's a liquid amber, I can't remember all of it, rotundifolia, I think. I actually have this tree on my property, and it's gotten to be about 40 feet in height, and it's starting to drop boughs for unexplained reasons. This may not be the most ideal tree for this area.
What's it called again, Paul?
Can you bring up the last sheet of the plan, which shows the layout of the plantings?
Yep. Give me 1 second. So yeah,
And
let's
then
see.
focus in on the tree, focus on the specifications for the plants.
Talk about this here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
this one right
so
here is then.
this one, liquid amber, rotundiloba, sweet gum, seedless. Well, first off, if I have the same tree, it's not necessarily seedless, which is to say it does drop the traditional gum balls that are associated with these trees, the spiny little round ping pong sized things. But at the same time, I've got basically a snag hanging up at the top of my tree currently that broke recently. Another big bough came down also about the same time, and I had another one fall last year. I would not be planting this tree again in my own yard.
Okay.
For this reason.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of alternatives out there, Paul. So I think we can certainly look at that with Mike and find something that's a suitable replacement for that.
I just think it should be reconsidered, frankly, from my experience.
No, I appreciate the feedback. That's good to know.
All right.
Anyone else from the public have any questions before we wrap up for this evening?
Yep, this is Justin Porter. Will these plans become available to us to review? Because you guys have been clicking through pretty quickly. I'll have a chance to actually sit down and look at it myself.
You bring up an interesting question, and I wanted to ask Mr. Joyce this, so thank you. What I would like to do, Mr. Joyce, is actually put this plan on our website for people to review. Now that we've had the meeting, I consider this to be a public document. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any objections to that.
No.
So, sir, if you have the internet, you'll be able to access it next week. If you don't, call the township office next week, and I'll make sure you get a paper copy.
Thank you.
And Jim, just to clarify, there's paper copies available at the township for anybody to review as well.
Correct. Going once, twice?
Hey, Jeff, or actually for Mike, I just have one quick question. Nate's letter has, I'm sorry, I lost I'm looking for it, has the applicant, or we've been referring to the applicant all the time here, but the letter says Beaver Hill Realty. Google just says that it's likely been dissolved and not operating as an entity. Is that the case? We should be able to...
as far as ownership of the property, I don't think it's been transferred, but I could say John Backish is the owner, and he's operating under Woodstone Homes. So yeah, as we were putting the plans together, I was looking into that as well, but the deeded information is still Beaver Hill Realty, and that's the entity he used as well with establishing the escrow account with the township.
And I will say, Mr. Johnston, we do have a very good escrow account with the developer that's funded. So between Melissa Ortega, our comptroller, and myself, we'll make sure that is kept an eye on very closely.
I might have some more questions when it comes to the board for that.
Sure. All right, so for right now, we're all thinking this is gonna come at the February Planning Commission meeting is the next meeting, and we are not anticipating this going before the board before then.
I see it.
Seeing no objections, Dr. Hoffman?
Are you already announcing we're not having a January meeting?
Well,
Or-
we might not. We might
Well,
not.
Yeah, let's wait to.
We have to wait and
get our
see.
timeline. All right, I appreciate everybody's input and time tonight. And hopefully Mr. Joyce has gotten some good feedback from us and appreciate the residents taking interest. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Chuck. 9:25. It's been a while since we've gone this long.
I'd like to say I was happy to help there, but I'll blame it on Mike.
Yeah, sorry
You
about
did
that.
you did your best, Nate, to talk
I try to
fast.
talk fast, guys.
All right.
Everybody
Happy
have a good
holidays,
holiday.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
everyone.
Bye.